Hello. A new year is upon us, and I have got some big plans both professionally here on the channel and in my own hobby as well. And though it may be as cliched as Space Marines in a new edition starter box, I thought it would be fun to take some time for me to talk about what those plans are. I'm Jordan, this is Jordan Sorcery, and today we're exploring my 2024 hobby ambitions. Before getting into my year ahead, I wanted to take a moment to thank everybody who contributed to my year just gone. Thank you to all of my interview guests, to everybody who watched or shared or engaged with my videos, and to all of my patrons who supported this work. And if you want to support it, then you can check out my Patreon, my Discord, and my Ko-fi via the links in the description below. So this is more of a list of ambitions than resolutions, but I know that if I set out some broad goals and then just leave them at that, I tend to not follow up on them. I kind of need those paths along the journey, otherwise I will stray off and just get lost, probably forgetting the whole thing entirely after a couple of weeks. So I've tried to make these into sort of tangible goals with milestones and key steps. I'm not going to beat myself up though if I miss those or if I do end one particular ambition, and that's because this is supposed to make me feel better about my hobby, get me more engaged, get me doing more stuff that I love. It's not something that I'm going to try and use as a cudgel to beat myself or to get upset about. It really is just a bit of structure to give me more direction, to encourage me to do stuff, and to just help me get stuck in to the things that I want to do. We're starting with number 6 because there's no rule that it has to be 5s and 10s, and this one is just logging stuff. That's because I have toyed around with using services like Letterboxd in order to log the films that I've watched, or Goodreads to log the books that I've read, but I've never really been as consistent with those as I would like. And I kind of feel that they can absolutely help kind of give me a bit more energy to the things I'm doing. It takes all of these individual things that I'm engaging with and kind of puts them into this larger tapestry of my year in film or my year in books. So I've created Jordan Sorcery profiles on both of those apps, and I'm going to be logging every film I watch, every book I read. I'm going to probably not keep them updated with like progress, but I want to actually put, I started it here and I ended it here, and I enjoyed it. So I can kind of give it a rating, maybe in some cases a review, but probably not for everything because who's got the time for that sort of stuff. But I think that that's a good start. Just to acknowledge that I'm doing this stuff because I want to do more reading. I want to watch more films. I used to watch and read loads of stuff, and I've kind of reduced the amount of that I do over the last couple of years. So I want to get back to that world. By logging it, I kind of feel like, okay, this is a way to take stock of what I'm doing, to take stock of how I'm spending that time, to see if I'm not doing as much of it as I wanted to, or I'm being surprised by where those energies are going and what I'm choosing to read and watch. And it also gives you this lovely special data set almost at the end of the year where you can look back and see, okay, what was the surprise that I didn't expect would be that good? Or did I read way more of those books by that author than I thought I was going to? And does that mean something? Does that tell me what I should be reading next year? That kind of stuff. I like that opportunity for reflection, I guess. Oh, and me and my partner are going to be using the Conqueror app to do this kind of challenge where we walk from the Shire to Mordor. It's something like 660 miles in total. Obviously, we don't actually walk to Mordor, but we log our miles walked, and then it tells us how far along that journey we are and keeps us in track with Sam and Frodo and the whole bunch of guys who went on their adventure. I quite like it as an idea. Again, something to encourage what I should be doing anyway and to actually log it in a way that I can then come back and reflect on. So a little bit of encouragement, but also a little bit of reflective data that I'm looking forward to. This year, I want to play some new games. Not that I didn't play any last year, but it felt like I didn't get my teeth stuck into enough new stuff. even though I was excited by loads of it. It just never made it to the table. So this year, I want to correct that. Now, you will not be surprised at all to see that I am super excited by the old world. I've been working on my Marienburg army project, L'Armée Trudeau, and I will be updating on that soon in the next Marienburg diary. I want those guys to be ready to take to the field in the old world. So that's something that I'm super excited about. I can't wait for it to be out on the table and available soon, but it's not the only game that I'm excited about playing this year, and it's probably a game that I'll be talking about on the channel loads, so I'm not going to dwell on that too much right now. So what other games am I excited to try playing in 2024? Well, there is a new zombicide game from CMON, a sequel to their fantasy games Black Plague and Green Horde. This new one, White Death, features the now classic CMON approach of slickly produced components and minis, lots of minis, cards, all sorts of fun stuff bundled into a huge box, and it was launched via Kickstarter last year. I didn't back the Kickstarter myself, and I've actually never played a zombicide game at all, but I have enjoyed a few other CMON releases like Rising Sun, which I absolutely love, and the others, which I also thought was great fun. Plus, the snowy medieval setting for this one really appeals to me. It's kind of reminiscent of one of my favourite recent shows, which is Kingdom on Netflix, all about zombies in Joseon-era Korea. A really fantastic show. And late last year, I also picked up a 2-player starter set for Goblin King Games' fantasy skirmish, Moonstone. I still haven't actually played it, but I think Moonstone has some incredibly fun-looking miniatures. It draws heavily from the movie Labyrinth and takes inspiration from the works of Brian Froud and Paul Bonner. It's just a gorgeous game, and I really hope it plays as well as it looks. As well as Moonstone, I've also got Argatoria from Spellcrow, for which I recently had a ton of fun delving into the lore. So I really want to get these 10mm armies onto the battlefield. One of my friends is super excited about them. He loves the barbarian aesthetic. He really likes the small-scale battle, so I'm looking forward to playing that. And then I've also got Silver Bayonet from Osprey Games, which is a horror game set during the Napoleonic War that kind of merges a bit of historicals with a bit of fantasy. And I've kind of got an unusual idea for a little warband that I could put together using Wonder Woman from the Batman Miniatures game and some unused movie concept art. I'm kind of hoping to pull something together for that that's a bit silly and a bit fun and a bit unique, and hopefully I will get a chance to play this at some point this year. One game world that I have a deep love for is Legend of the Five Rings. It's a samurai and politics and kind of fantasy universe inspired by a lot of Japanese mythology and history and other elements of East Asian cultures. It's, I think, a really fun game world to explore in the role-playing game and in the card games that have been released over the years, but it's been through a bit of a rough patch recently. It's not actually getting a lot of support, and there's not as many games to play in that world as one might like. But fortunately, there are a couple on the horizon, and there's one in particular that I'm really excited about. The most appealing new L5R game for me is The River of Gold. It's a Euro game about traders and merchants in this fantasy world of Rokugan. I've only seen a few images of the game so far, but it looks lovely, and to be honest, the art and design of pretty much everything released for L5R since FFG rebooted the franchise in 2015 has really grabbed me. I'm quite excited to see this world in action once again. Oh, and I almost forgot that my friend Rob and I are going to be doing a small-scale Age of Sigmar campaign in the run-up to the 4th edition of the game, which is likely to release later in the year. That's going to be a very small campaign. I say small because I cannot afford the time or anything else to invest in a bigger Cities of Sigmar force than what I've got. Just a very small warband. It's going to be really fun. We may use some one-page rules, Age of Fantasy rule sets for it, and we may use some Age of Sigmar stuff as well. We're going to see how it goes, but it's going to be set in the world of Age of Sigmar, and I'm really looking forward to just playing around a little bit in one corner of the Mortal Realms. New games are one thing, but for me, it's old games that are the real good stuff. And I have got some amazing old games lined up. First up is going to be Mordheim. My friends Stu and Dan from the Hobby Hour podcast are going to be joining me in Warhammer World for some Mordheim games. Stu has built an incredible game board, which you can see on his channel, Miniature Realms. It genuinely is awesome. I can't wait to fight over it. And he's also organising some scenarios and some cool story stuff. So I am just looking forward to getting into Mordheim again. I will, of course, be using some Marienburg dandies for those games. Normally, they would be part of Mariona List's Kislevites vodka smugglers in L'Armée Trudeau, but she is releasing them for some away missions into Mordheim, just so that we can tell some fun stories. And when they return, I'm going to be writing up my full army list, not using this order of battle, but my own roster sheets that I've been developing, and they are going to take to the field in some 6th/7th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle games. That's because I'm going to be using the 6th edition Warhammer Armies book for the Empire and the Dogs of War, but we're going to be using the 7th edition core rules. So I think that's going to be terrific fun, and I can't wait to talk about the Marienburg Army's the first battles on the battlefield. The reason I laughed is because that's like the 16th take of just that one sentence. I'll also be continuing to be part of the Hazard Stripes Tale of Four Gangers series over on the newly reforged Fueled by Chaos channel. So I'm expecting my Ogryn gang to see more action in the Underhive this year. And I will also be playing some Warhammer Quest, both 1995 Original Quest, which I'm going to be doing a battle retort about here on the channel, and also something that's a little bit special with Cursed City. Now, I really love the look of Cursed City. I think the box and the contents are amazing, but I didn't really get on with the rules too much. And as you know, I really love the old world more than I love the Mortal Realms and Age of Sigmar. I don't hate them, I just don't like them as much as Warhammer. So I'm going to be retheming Cursed City to take place in Prague, the Kislevite city that has a history of vampires and chaos. And that is something that I'm really looking forward to. So we'll talk more about that when it's anywhere near complete. On the RPG side, I'm currently partaking of a Dungeons & Dragons Saltmarsh campaign and the legendary Call of Cthulhu Horror on the Orient Express campaign. Both of these campaigns are with terrific, amazing GMs, just so much fun, and a party who are all awesome. So I'm just having a terrific time playing those RPGs. I also would love to get back to the GM side of the table if I can find the time to work on some campaign stuff. Both L5R and Woofrup are really calling to me this year. So fingers crossed I can find the time to dedicate it to doing some games mastering for those two games. And for all of these games that I want to play, both old and new, I'm going to try and log them more effectively. This is something I've never really done before. I briefly used Glimpse, which was an app that let you photograph or film something you were doing, and you'd get a second or two and then stitch it all together. That was quite cool, but it was not very helpful as a sort of a data set, which, as you know, I really enjoy. So I'm going to be logging them on Board Game Geek and RPG Geek. Sadly, they have to be done separately, which is a bit of a shame. But I'm going to try and log my play sessions, the games I'm playing, how long they take, who I'm playing with, all of that kind of stuff, if I remember, because I'd, again, really like to be able to take a look at the end of the year and sort of see where did I spend my time, what games did I enjoy the most, who did I play with the most, what did I play with the most, all of that cool stuff, because my memory is not what it once was. I don't always remember everything I did. So I think that that will be really fun. The reason I've chosen Board Game Geek as an app to track it all is just that I already use that, so I don't want to have to learn a new system or have a new app. So it might not be the best, but I think it will work out really well, and I'm looking forward to it. Marienburg. Well, that's not the entirety of it. There's other stuff. I've got some skeletons, I've got some space elves, I've got some Tau, other cool stuff that I want to paint, but the Marienburg army, L'Armée Trudeau, is my big painting project for this year. I have had ups and downs with this, as you will have seen if you've watched the channel. where I've sort of struggled to get into a good rhythm. I kind of got a bit more pace going just before Christmas, but then it was Christmas, so that kind of went by the wayside as all of the other fun stuff took over. Now we're getting into the new year, and I want to get into a proper painting routine. I want to be doing regular sessions of regular painting. I've had some friends reach out to offer to do virtual or in real life hangouts so we can just paint some stuff together. And I think I'm going to do that because I think I could use the encouragement and the help. And I might even stream some painting sessions as well so that you guys can all come and give me advice and keep me on the straight and narrow. The thing is, I do really want to have a proper painted army. It doesn't have to be Golden Demon Wing. It just has to be what I can do. And I kind of want that sense of achievement of just me having done as much as I can towards this project. There's a few amazing pieces that people have painted for me that are going to be in the army, and I'll be talking about those on the next Marienburg Diary as well. But I'd like to try and do as much of it as I can. I don't know what the compulsion is. I think I've just lived too much of a life of grey plastic and raw metal armies, and now is the time that I want to try and conquer it. It's okay if I don't. It doesn't have to be a big part of my hobby, but it sort of feels like this is the year where we're going to find out for sure if it ever will be. 2024 is when I'm going to try and get over that hump, that challenge, that initial obstacle of getting used to painting. And if I do, I can imagine the rest of my hobby career, including painting as a big part of it, because it looks like it's fun for most people. But if I don't get over that hump, then that's fine too. I've really given it a full College of Magic try, and it just didn't work out for me. But there's a lot of stuff I've still got to try, and I still want to. So I'm not going to beat myself up about it if I don't succeed, but I think that this is the year where we find out. And whilst we're on the topic of painting, I did want to mention, and hopefully this is not too egregiously self-serving, but I have recently joined Element Games' affiliate program. So that means I have now got an affiliate link, which is down in the description below, where you can click on that, go to the Element Games website, and then you can buy anything you want, and it will actually then benefit me and the channel as well. So we get a little bit of commission on the things that you're buying. Obviously, it's the same price that you would normally buy it at. It just tells the site that you came via my channel, which there's no obligation and no pressure for anyone to use that. It's just the kind of thing that can really help to support the channel and to basically keep me moving forward and keep me progressing and allow me to continue doing this work into this year, because this is kind of the make or break year for Jordan Sorcery. I've got some really exciting plans that I'm talking about, but I don't know for sure if I'll be able to continue doing this because it's just not a viable, sustainable job just yet. So my hope is that things like this, which hopefully are not too offensive to anyone or get in anybody's way, but if you want to support the channel, it's a relatively low difficulty way of doing so. You don't have to spend anything extra if you're already going to spend it. You can just do it in a way that says, you know what, let's support that guy because we enjoy what he's doing. I love exploring the history of these games. It's just so fascinating to me how they came to be. The decisions from the creative side, from the business side, the steps that were taken, the external factors, the internal factors, all of that sort of stuff. It appeals to me as a way of exploring these games through a specific set of lenses. And don't worry, I'm going to be doing lots and lots of that here on the channel this year. But I don't as often talk about the other side of the games that I also love, and that is the lore and the characters, the stories that exist within these awesome games. So I'm going to try and do a little bit more of that on the channel this year as well. I want to take a look at certain events in the history of Warhammer Fantasy. So the Storm of Chaos, or the Age of the Three Emperors, which forms the backdrop to the Old World. And if you've watched my travelogue, don't worry about it. If you've watched my Marienburg video where the Halfling guide Banbury Bunfarin takes you on a journey through Marienburg, then you'll see the kind of thing that I really like to explore, telling the story of a place in the Warhammer world as if it were real, as if it was the story was just visiting it. So Banbury Bunferin will be back. He's going to be going to Altdorf in the next video. That's hopefully coming relatively soon. And I'm going to see where else he might go in the old world, in the wider Warhammer world, to tell those stories as well. And then there's also the sort of whole cloth stories, brand new stories that I have invented myself. Now, I don't know whether this is something people want to see too much more of. Hopefully you do. Hopefully you enjoy the sort of way I explore the worlds and how I write about them. It's okay. If you don't know, that's absolutely fine. You may not have seen, but I actually released a ghost story for Christmas here on the channel called The Tallow Man. It came out on Christmas Eve, and it is an original story that I've written about a very creepy entity that exists in Mordheim. And this is on the precipice of the winter solstice, and one family find out the truth behind the rumours of this very unusual bogeyman. Now, I really enjoyed writing that story. I really enjoyed reading it aloud and sort of telling the story of the Tallow Man here on the channel. I'm not going to do too much of it. I don't want to cloud out all of the other really interesting and fun stories that already exist. But I would love to take some time to bring some more of my original stories here as well, and just to talk through them or tell them here on the channel and to share them on my website. You can actually watch The Tallow Man right now, or you can go and read it on my website if you'd prefer. Either way, I would love to get feedback on it and to know what you liked or disliked about it, whether or not I should do more ghost stories like it. And of course, I've already written the first chapter of The Widow Trudeau, which is my story that ties into my Marienburg army. And I'm going to continue with that. I'm going to do some readings of those stories here on the channel as well, and continue to put those out new chapter by chapter on my website. So stuff like that. I mean, hopefully people enjoy it, but don't worry, it's not going to take over the channel, and there's still going to be all of the traditional stuff that you enjoy. The histories, the interviews, the choose your own adventures. Oh wait, I don't think I was supposed to talk about that last one just yet. And yeah, celebrate successes. So in November of last year, it was the first anniversary of my channel, and to celebrate, I made an addendum video where I took a look at the top 5 mistakes I had made so far. Now, there will always be mistakes, especially with the kind of things I'm covering here on the channel. There's just so much research, there's things I learn later, there are omissions, there are errors that I make from time to time, hopefully not too many. So I just wanted to take ownership of that and to call out some of the biggest ones. And everybody was so generous in the comments. Really, really lovely feedback. I thank you all so much for that. It was really humbling. And one of the things that was said in there, in those comments, was just that I shouldn't just dwell on the mistakes, I should also dwell on the successes. And that has stayed with me, and I think it's a really good bit of advice. In 2023, I published about 77 videos on the channel, with around 20 shorts as well. I got to interview Rick Priestley and Sir Ian Livingstone, Gav Thorpe, Andy Chambers, Alan Merritt, Jim Butler, Alessio Cavatore, John Stallard, Robin Dews, Thomas Pirinin, Mark Wells, Martin Wallace, and most recently, the irrepressible Johnny Fraser Allen. Johnny has even made a miniature of me. It's amazing. I published my first ever gaming supplement, a fantasy battle scenario called Dead King Wenceslas, and it's been downloaded over 200 times, which is just amazing to me. I can't believe it. I'm so excited about that. And you can go and download it for free right now if you want to. I've made some fabulous friends. I got to run a quiz for the guys at the painting phase, and there's just been so many amazing conversations with you out there in all of my different social channels, in the comments, on Twitter and social media and everything else. It's been awesome, and it feels like a real community is starting to grow around my Patreon, around my Discord, and around the videos here on the channel. The comment sections are just really super positive, and it's lovely to see. So thank you all so much for that. It really, I don't know, it genuinely is very heartwarming stuff. It's a big success for me, so thank you. So this is not quite an ambition, but I do intend to go to more events this year. So if you're in this community and you see me out and about at UK Games Expo or Salute or wherever it may be, Warhammer World, do feel free to come over and know me better, man, because I love speaking to people. Some people have already done that in various places, and it's been amazing to just get to see people who are enjoying the channel and just want to have a quick chat and say hello. I think it's fantastic. So come on over. And what kind of videos can you expect here on the channel this year? Well, of course, I will be bringing to a close my Making of Warhammer Fantasy series. That's on the way, and I apologize for it having taken a lot longer than expected. Once that wraps up, I'm then going to be looking at the Making of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. I've got some amazing interviews with some key individuals involved in all of the different editions of that game. I think that is going to be a fascinating insight into something that really defined what Warhammer Fantasy actually is. And from there, well, we're also going to be taking an irregular look at the far future, because I'm going to be looking at a little game called Warhammer 40,000. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Plus, there are other videos about specific topics like Lost Warhammer comics, magic in Warhammer Fantasy, and of course, the Storm of Chaos, which I'm obsessed with, and I absolutely need to get those videos made and on the channel soon, because it's just consuming my mind at this point. I hope that you enjoy all of the awesome projects I've got planned for here on the channel, including a bit of a history of chaos as well, which is a big one, but a really interesting one. All of that's to come. Please stay with me here on the channel. I really appreciate you guys watching and sharing and talking about everything. As I've said, there's a load of links in the description below, all kinds of different ways to support the channel now. Feel free, if you want to check out those. If not, a like, a comment, and share is just really super helpful. I really want this to be the big year of Jordan Sorcery, so anything you can do to help is much appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Jordan, and this is Jordan Sorcery. So I think the mistake I've made here is moving some of Martha's beds around the room. Now she has Mordheim, which is a towering box over by the radiator, which she just wants to sit in and defend all the livelong day. She's barely on the desk anymore at all at the moment. We'll see if we can entice her back onto the channel. It's just not the same without Martha here. So fingers crossed, a big ambition for this year. More Martha.